So, the T-Rex is dead, which is definitely a very good start. It is around this point where you're going to want to go pick up the bits and bobs that have littered the area. Because there's a few goodies around. Though some of them are annoyingly a little bit hidden. And if you're wondering why my voice is slightly different, I'm ill. And yet I still want to do this. So we are going to go ahead and charge, basically. Oh, the poor thing, it's just kind of sitting there, all miserable. And here we go. Here is the third and final cog to our puzzle. And we are going to go back and slot that in and basically finish off the mission. But to be able to do that, we kind of need to get back first. And the only way in which we can do that is by heading up through this temple structure, and we're about to reach a rather horrible jump in order to get an artifact, I believe. There's a lot of those in this game. Where the game is just like, yeah, you want this artifact? You are going to have to do a hideous jump for it. You're going to be tested for these artifacts. And I have to say, that was so close. That could have ended so badly. Now, it really looks as if there should be something over here, but there isn't, so don't worry. Just go the incredibly obvious route, instead of trying to get up on top of the structure that you've just climbed. Because this is the way the game wants you to go, and in fact it is the only way that you're going to get out. Now, something that I don't think I have mentioned yet, but which is a skill that you are going to want to kind of just be aware of, is that if you have Lara's guns out of their holsters, Lara will jump further. But you're not going to want to do that when you're actually going to try and grab something, because obviously Lara can't grab things when she's got guns in her hands. It's common sense. Now, in this ground area here, there are a bunch of goodies. So, basically, grab them now before you go anywhere, because this is, I believe, where we entered. Unfortunately, I am going to miss everything else that's in this area, because I kind of completely missed the idea that this stuff was here. Oh well, it happens. At least we haven't missed an artifact. That's the important thing. Yep. I believe I might have mentioned this already, but I'm really not that much of a fan of the lack of music in this game. Like, I mean, it's okay at times, because sometimes it really ups the tension, sometimes it really makes you feel alone. But other times, like now, you've just got a general silence, and no real reason to continue. Well, that's definitely not what I mean. But like, there's no kind of real drive pushing you forward. You're just kind of just walking around not doing a whole lot. Or at least it doesn't feel like you're doing anything, because there's no kind of music. I don't know. I think it may partly be because I'm just so used to playing video games that make use of their musical prowess far more, and there's constantly some sort of track going on, which is exciting. And I do believe that there are people out there who prefer this style of soundtrack. Also, this is the hideous jump that I was talking about, because that's a very, very long jump, and if you miss, which is very easy to do, then basically what's going to happen is that you're going to end up on the ramp, which means that you can't get back to this area unless you reload your game. Which is a wonderful thing to force on you, but I think that's probably one of the worst artifacts to get in the game, if I'm recalling correctly. Really struggling to remember some of the other difficult artifacts, but I think that's certainly one of the more challenging ones out that you have to do. And now that we've made it all the way over here, we've basically just got to kind of head back through the caves and sort out that cog. Because basically what the game probably expects you to do is to run and see the cave that you entered through was blocked, which is why we had to take the upper path. Which is depressing, but it happens. And now comes the point where you have to do your traversal back across, and it's certainly interesting to say the least. It's mostly kind of because you are kind of having to think in reverse, which is a difficult thing in platformers sometimes. Now, I believe what I'm doing right now is collecting, or attempting to collect, shotgun shells that I thought were there. Or return to grab things or something. I don't know. There are weird things that go through my head when I'm playing Tomb Raider games. Smooth game. Smooth. Way to hold it together. Now, this particular returning section is probably one of the more difficult ones, because you've kind of got to do that. I mean, I think you could jump to the slope, but either way, it's still a little bit nasty. And now this is the point where we get to reuse this exit pathway. And finally get to slide down this ramp, because sliding's always fun. Now, one thing that I am finding interesting about Tomb Raider Anniversary is the extent to which there is, well, to which there are kind of elements of backtracking. Because it doesn't always happen that often in some of the other Tomb Raider games. Like, in Legends, I can only really think of King Arthur's Tomb as a level in which backtracking through the level occurred. There's probably, well, there were a few little bits in other levels as well. So I guess what I just said was completely wrong, but oh well. And, oh, that's the moment. I knew it happened somewhere. Of attempting to jump a little too early. It's a stupid idea. So stupid. But thankfully we are nearing the end of this particular level, and overall we're nearing the end of Peru. It's really not going to take us that long. And then we get to go to an interesting new area, which is where most of the main mythology comes in. But there we go. It's the last cog. And this is actually going to allow us to access the relic that we unlocked earlier. So that's what we're going to head to now, pretty much. Because that thing there slows down the current to because it stems the waterfall, which allows us to get into that temple tomb area thing. I believe it's the Tomb of Qualopec. But before we head into it, we are going to get our relic that we have waited so long to get access to. It's a little bit nasty because you, by this point in the level, you kind of forget that you have unlocked it, and then it's just like, well, where could it be? It's not specifically clear, because it could be in the pool down below, and it could be in the river. The truth is, it is in the river, and you cannot get it until you have done this, because otherwise you basically just get swept away. Now, I believe we can just about see the tunnel where it is. You can't get around that corner, unfortunately. However, you can get down into the tunnel, thankfully. And then our relic is right here. And it is a wonderful Kero mug, which is quite cool, although apart from the fact that it was used for fermented stuff, which is never pleasant. But with that, and that rather poor water texture, I'm sorry, Tomb Raider Anniversary, you're not doing yourselves any favours with that water. And with that beautiful swan dive, and a run up the stairs, we finished this level, and it's time to head into the last part of Peru. Let's do this.